Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pickleball Pirate Talks, and I am your host, the Pickleball Pirate, Keith Valentine. And as always, I've got my usual suspects with me. I've got Joey Gumier, the Gun Show.
The Gun
I've got
Show.
Mark Napartovich, the Russian Assassin, and we have a very, very special guest with us today that you guys are going to be very intrigued by the story and who he is, and that is Brad Schwaeble. Okay.
Schwaeble like table.
Schwaeble like table. Thank you, Joey, because I suck at these kind of things. And Brad is connected with Margaritaville, and everybody knows the name, everybody knows the game. And welcome, Brad. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Appreciate that introduction, Keith, and a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Joey and Mark, for taking time out as well. And yes, it is Brad Schwaeble, so thank you. And I am with Mark, and have going on my 23rd year with the company.
23 years. Okay, so let's back up a step. So just pure vulnerability here and transparency. I had no clue Margaritaville was an actual company or did anything. Like, I tell you what, I'm still looking for my lost shaker of salt, right? This is a song that everybody knows and you're probably sick of hearing, but I didn't know what Margaritaville was. So let's start there. Just tell us in real quick, what is Margaritaville? What do they do?
Sure. And Keith, I guess probably what I would have to say, we may have to pull your pirate card. If you were unfamiliar with Margaritaville and Jimmy Buffett and you're the pickleball pirate, I think we'll start right there and earn from there. But it's interesting because Margaritaville, it originated as a song back in 1977. And obviously back then, and today, people associate Jimmy Buffett, is Jimmy Buffett, the musician, the songwriter, author, a very accomplished musician, still touring today, and still very, very active. I often get the question, is it Jimmy's company? Is he involved? And the answer is yes, this is Jimmy's company, and he's as involved as he wants to be. Let me put it that way. He comes and goes, and yes, I've met with Jimmy. Yes, I've known Jimmy for many, many years. But what I will say is through the evolution of the company and the brand of Margaritaville over these 20 plus years, couple decades, it's really become much more than that. Margaritaville now is what I would term as a state of mind. It's surrounded with fun and escapism. It's brought to life in many different ways. It's an ecosystem of products. And what I mean by that is we've got a strong hospitality division. We've got hotels, resorts, restaurants. We've got Camp Margaritavilles. We've got all-inclusives in the Caribbean. There's a few other major initiatives on the horizon here in the next year. We've got places to live permanently. We've got communities for 55 and what we call 55 and better. We've also got condos under the brand. We've obviously got spirits. We've got Land Shark Lager. We've got Margaritaville Tequila. We've got an extensive line of Margaritaville products, from $300 frozen concoction makers that make the perfect margarita, Margaritaville furniture, high-end apparel, a variety of products in there. We've got Margaritaville casinos. We've got a radio station. We're broadcasted on Margarita Sirius XM. So check your dial there, low on the dial. So we've got a big following there, a huge digital presence, over 20 Facebook pages, a very extensive Margaritaville.com website. So so in many ways, we're a very broad brand, but I don't think you're wrong in the fact that one of the things that we've done, and very intentionally, is not try to over commercialize this brand. We're not the brand that goes out there and puts it in front of the public's face in a very commercial aspect. We've grown. It's got a real story. It's really genuine. It comes from an organic place, and it's taken this much time over that many years to create kind of what's unique and special about Margaritaville, and quite frankly, unprecedented in many, many ways. If you think about that, there's not many brands, if any, if you can think about it, that we literally have Margaritaville shrimp in Publix that you can go buy today and have Margaritaville shrimp, or you can go buy a $500,000 home in the Margaritaville brand, and everything in between in that spectrum. So all these other experiences, and you think about other brands out there that really can't do that. If you and you also think about an association with a brand, it's typically with a product. So I'll give you the example. When you think of Nike, you think of athletic wear or shoes, right? It's very designated a product. When you think of Coach, you think of, purses. When you think of Tiffany's, you think of jewelry. When you think of Margaritaville, it's a state of mind. It conjures a lot of emotion for a lot of people out there. So it's very interesting in that way that we're able to bring a brand to life in a very extensive manner, but it all makes sense under the brand. So that's one of the things that we've done over this many years is we've extended the brand through a lot of, what I will say, some of the shit we've made up as it's gone along, or some of the stuff we've made up, you probably have to edit that, sorry. Some of the stuff we've made up as we've gone along. But quite frankly, there's been a lot of thought process in growing this brand in a very strategic manner. And what I would also say, in many ways, we're very much in the infancy stage of what this brand will be, in the coming years.
Wow.
So you actually essentially broke American marketing law.
Well, yeah, you really have. Like the description of what you had. So you got an organic growth brand that is really unheard of in corporate America right now. Usually it's, hey, spend $1 billion on marketing and it's going to bring you this much return. But you guys have kind of just said, hey, no, everybody knows what Margaritaville is because of the famous song, right? And who Jimmy Buffett is. But now you guys have turned it into a state of mind, which that actually, now that you said that, it makes a lot of sense to me. But that must have been kind of different to even come up with that marketing thing. Well, we're not really going to market. We're just kind of build relationships and build products that kind of fit with our brand. So was that like a whole mindset from the top down? Like, how did you guys come up with that?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, it was a big strategy and a lot of sessions, but quite frankly, it was a lot of people on the front line. When I started with the company, I was out there servicing the guests. And I often tell people, if you stay close to your consumer and you understand what they need and you deliver great value, then you're setting yourself up for success in a major way. And that's been our discipline throughout, and Jimmy has a lyric, he has many lyrics, quietly making noise. So we would go out there in the industry in all these ways. We'd spend a lot of time making sure every different category or product or division that we got into, that it delivered, and it delivered with a lot of value. The consumer, I will tell you, the consumer is very sophisticated out there, and especially in this day and age with digital, in the digital world, you can, communication and Warren Buffett, who, no relation to Jimmy, by the way, Warren Buffett, but I have had the opportunity to meet. He's got a very good line, which makes a lot of sense if you think about it and let it resonate for a moment. It takes over 20 years to build a reputation. It takes about 5 minutes to destroy it. So, they ask what my job is and what I'm supposed to do. It's to protect that reputation that a lot of people beyond myself have worked very hard to create. And that's what we do. We go out there and look at each one of these and make sure that, when we talk about Margaritaville, that it's on brand, and then it delivers when people walk away, that it feels like they've gotten a good value. And the other thing I would add too, different than many other brands, for many people that interact with this brand, this has gotten an emotional attachment. So there's typically in your life, if you think about it, if you've been on vacation or you've been with family or you've done certain things or experienced this brand, usually it's around our products and you're having a good time, or there's a song in the background. There's things that people connect with that instantly bring a smile to your face. Yeah. And Keith, you're an example of that. When you talk about these things, but that's powerful, right?
Yeah.
When you bring up a brand and it makes you smile and feel good, whether you know exactly what it is or isn't, it immediately conjures something. On the other side, when you have people's emotion, you've got to be very careful that you deliver upon that, because if you don't, it can work against you a little bit as well. So for us, it's having this discipline. And I would say, in the early stages, was it this big strategy? Was it this intentional thing? To a certain extent, it was. When I first started with the company, I oversaw a lot of brand extensions and development of the retail, and we would constantly get a lot of calls. Hey, I want to put Margaritaville on this. I want to do Margaritaville over here. We were very disciplined not to just go out there and commercialize this brand and say, no, we want to softly kind of work in and demonstrate, build a strong foundation for what people should expect of the brand. And then as we, once that foundation is in, now we can explore how to deliver it in different avenues. And I think based on that discipline, that's why we're having success today, is that we've been able to, deliver upon this value, deliver upon the experience that people have come to know. And then also through that process, build a culture. And that's the other thing that I will share with you. Both the internal and the external culture, key elements to Margaritaville. When we go out there, and I'm often asked what is part of my job, it's to make sure that they feel the passion of what Margaritaville is. And I won't say it's like, drinking the Kool-Aid or anything. It's nothing like that. It's really, here's what Margaritaville can mean to you. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of, things that you can pursue with this brand and this company. But ultimately, if you take care of the guest, then they're going to take care of the customer. And it's okay to work hard and play hard and have a lot of fun. And that's what we tell our staff and our team out there. You're going to work real hard because it is a lot of hard work. Our places are very, very busy and stay very, very active. So there's a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat equity that goes into that. But ultimately, we want them to enjoy themselves and have a good time, to the point where we essentially, for all of our employees, we have a lanyard that they wear as their name badge. And on the lanyard, it says, "I love my job." And it's very interesting. And we do employee surveys and things like that. And it's a little crazy when you ask an employee, "Hey, do you love your job?" People like their job sometimes. Yeah. People don't like their job, but oftentimes people don't love their jobs. But I will tell you, when we survey our team, thousands of employees in many different ways out there, whether they're in the restaurants, the hotels, and the campgrounds, whatever it is, we ask them the same question. It's the first question on the survey. Do they love their job? Over 90% of them answer yes. So to us, that's what's key. Is delivering and creating that culture.
Wow. And also, just even using the word job versus work. I found that work is a 4-letter word to most people. Like, work, it sounds tedious, but job is something that you can identify with and connect with. And it's like, oh, I get to do my job, but I love my job because I want to be there. And I love what you said, like, just even a kind of a relational first company, when you're really thinking about giving people an experience versus giving them a place to stay that has a unique venue or something like that. It's really we want them to leave with memories, and you're kind of in the memory making business. And that just sounds cool to me. So you said your work, now you've been there 23 years, right? Is that what you said? Okay. So
Correct.
First off, what's your title right now? What do you do? And then tell me your story of how you got to where you're at in Margaritaville.
Sure. So by title, I'm the COO of the hospitality division of Margaritaville, Chief Operating Officer for Margaritaville. I've been with the company, like you mentioned, for over 23 years. And what does that mean? It means I support a lot of people out there. That's what it means. I'm not the boss of a lot of people. It means I'm responsible for a lot of people. I have to support a lot of people out there. My journey, I started, relatively young. I was with some other companies, some other brands. I was recruited away by Margaritaville. At the time, there were a handful of restaurants that were operational. They were actually getting ready to open up the restaurant here in Universal Studios. And originally, and this is everybody's got a story, as does Margaritaville, and kind of the origin of this is the Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville restaurant in Universal Studios was slated to be Shaquille O'Neal's restaurant at the time. But this was the same time that Shaq got traded away to LA. So once he was traded out of Orlando, that opportunity opened up itself to become another restaurant. So Jimmy partnered with our CEO and they got a couple of calls saying, "Hey, we're interested in making this." What originated out of Key West, there was a small restaurant that's still there today on Duval Street, and converting this into a restaurant in Universal Studios. Are you interested in potentially doing this? The answer was obviously yes. And then from there formed a team of people that were, what I would say, probably a little overqualified just for running a restaurant, a small retail store. But the intention was to open that up, do it correctly, incubate the product for a few years, and then expand, exponentially over the course of years. And that's what we did. So I was recruited away. By title, I took over director of brand management and retail at the time. So I oversaw all the intellectual properties, all the logo development, all the retail products. I worked with our team there. There was about 4 of us that pioneered this directly up. And to share with you, Margaritaville and Jimmy Buffett are one of the most intellectual property, trademark, and registered brands out there for a musician. He's got over 40 CDs. We've got, several trademarks and registrations and brands that we own under the brand Margaritaville, which is pretty amazing. but it took many years and a lot of, a lot of hard work to do that. So over that course of time, as the company grew, and we, put our strategic growth plan in place, we were all working out of that restaurant. And about 5 or 6 years operating it, about 5 or 6 years into that voyage, we decided to, expand several more restaurants. So over a course of 5, 7, 10 years, we went from 3, 4 restaurants up to about 15 to 20. And then we also got beyond operating restaurants domestically. We started to expand and license other restaurants internationally in the Caribbean, Australia at one time, Central America. So we started venturing off and then started answering the calls on doing other products. So we expanded our entire brand and to all the things that we do today over a relatively short period of time, to the point where there was a moment in time that, to operate a business versus what I'll call brand manage a franchise or licensing brand, you have to kind of make a decision, because operating, there's day-to-day stuff, the employees are calling, the customers, so we fundamentally made a decision to go into the licensing and franchising business about 7 years ago now, and essentially bring our corporate office over. A majority of the corporate office went over to operating the restaurant company. There was an M&A with a company that took it over and now took most of our corporate office, and they continue to maintain and operate our restaurants. And a subset of our corporate office now runs all the franchise and licensing business. So essentially everything with the name Margaritaville now comes through our brand management corporate office here in Orlando, which I'm part of and the COO of. And what do I do by title? Basically ensure all of the brand standards are maintained, with a special interest in hospitality. I've got a team of people in various disciplines, from marketing to revenue management to HR to entertainment to day-to-day operations, that report up to me. We spend a lot of time out in the field, ensuring that, we deliver all of those things that we talked about earlier. And that's the tricky part. As you grow and as you expand, as exciting as it is, you lose direct control, right? You start to expand the globe, you add that many more people. It's just that big of an opportunity for things not to maybe be delivered upon as the original vision. But, fortunately for us and the team and the people out there on the front line, they're very passionate and they're committed to delivering Margaritaville. So we've been very successful. A lot of my time is spent on the road. Pre-pandemic, I was probably gone, 3 out of the 4 weeks a month traveling. So, there's a lot of work and a lot of effort that goes behind, making sure that we keep what we've built and maintain what's special about Margaritaville out there.
Oh, come on, man. You don't work. You just sit back and collect big checks. At least that's what everybody thinks about corporate America. They think that these guys that are corporate, C-level guys, that they just sit back and collect checks. But let me ask you this, in all honesty, can you even remember the last time you only worked 40 hours in a week?
I hear that, the C-level and such, and here's the thing. You reach a certain point, you stop logging hours, right? Because so I know I can't, because I don't really quantify the amount of time I work. The phone can ring after midnight. The phone can, the emails at 5 a.m. Those types of things.
It's a lot of work.
I mean, it is. And trust me, I'm very blessed in what I do, and wouldn't trade it. And I'd be remiss in saying that, I'm very fortunate and such, but yeah, it's a commitment. There's a level of commitment, at this stage, that you take over, and it's not like it's what I would say, it's no longer, work. It is, it is my, actually part of the company. So it is my company. Obviously Jimmy is at the forefront and our CEO and such, but yeah, I'm committed to this and spend a lot of time and hours and there's a lot of stress, when it's yours, it's not, you are no longer responsible for what you do. You become responsible for what others do as well. So that's the difference. And that never stops. You never clock in or out for any of that.
Wow, that's awesome. So okay. So now we'll get to the stuff that people want to know. Sorry for anybody that gets bored with that corporate stuff, but I love listening to that type of thing because, you just described something that's so not typical in American corporate, right? Is that you're building a relationship with people to give them an experience versus I just want to make as much money on people as I can. Like you're trying to make an impact on people's life, even though it's partying, having fun, and having, doing that kind of thing. You're trying to give people an experience they can remember, and that's just not that typical. And even your marketing strategy is not typical. I can't even think of any large corporations off the top of my head that have that type of business model. But it's obviously working with you guys. It's obviously working. So let me ask this. Okay, so I know Margaritaville now is hosting a couple different tournaments, right? I know the U.S. Open, you're partnered with them, and then I know that there's a couple PPA events coming up. And I know you recently started playing pickleball, but you
And
didn't start
there is a
playing.
Recently.
there is a paddle, actually a series of paddles, Margaritaville.
Okay, now we got more stories. Okay, so first, start me with this. How did you guys get involved with pickleball? Like, how did that come about? You tell me that.
Sure. So our introduction to pickleball was actually through our partnership with our community developer, Minto. So Minto is the developer for our 55 and better communities. And the name of those communities are Latitude Margaritaville. So we've got a Latitude Margaritaville in Daytona Beach that's been up and I guess open, or people have been living there for 3 years. We've got a Latitude community in Hilton Head that's been around about the same time. We just introduced the newest Latitude community up in Watersound, up in the Panhandle of Florida. So our Daytona Beach community, we've got about 3,000-4,000 residents right now. I think we'll get up to 5,000 or 6,000 when the whole planned community is fully developed. But essentially, as part of that community, at the hub of it was pickleball. It was one of the main activities when we started partnering with Minto, that they said, if you're going to do communities like this, you have to have pickleball as part of the planned recreation. So at the time, I don't think, any of us on the Margaritaville side, and this is, a handful of years ago, were familiar or overtly familiar with pickleball. But very quickly, once we opened that community, we realized how popular it was. And Minto, prior to doing this with this community with us, they had other communities, and they were in the pickleball space. So Minto was already sponsoring the national tournament. They were already involved with the U.S. Open. So it only made sense once they got involved with Margaritaville to introduce Margaritaville now to these opportunities. Because quite frankly, what Margaritaville brings to pickleball is that element of fun, right?
Yeah.
And not that pickleball on its own isn't fun, but there's another notch, if you would, of fun. It's activating pickleball and taking it to the next level. So very quickly, we partnered with the U.S. Open team over there, got to sit on phone calls with the U.S. Open and say, look, pickleball is great, but how do we make it more interactive for all the fans that come out? How do we really make this a party? And that's really, the U.S. Open has truly embraced that. They want to have great pickleball, but they want to have a fun party experience, and that's what we've been delivering upon with it. So the past couple of years, we've been involved with pickleball and other associations now, with the PPA and other pickleball associations. We're looking for the future of maybe doing more in the space, but it's something that we've embraced completely. It works. It's such a social, goodwill type game. So it very much complements what Margaritaville's about. So, the future for us in pickleball, is endless.
Wow. How did you start doing pedals?
Sure. So good question, Mark, and thanks. So, once we got into the space, it only made sense for us to start looking at maybe partnering with one of the better brands out there in the space, and Head Pickleball was one of the first ones that we entertained. So we started developing Margaritaville themed pickleball paddles, and it's been a few years with them. Been very successful with them. I would say for the most part, they're introductory type pickleball paddles. So for the brand like us to come in and introduce people into pickleball, it made a lot of sense for us to have these style of paddles. And we're looking to do more with them, and maybe even bringing doing a little bit more series of paddles and taking a little bit more serious with them. But Head is our partner in the space, and great to have them on board with Margaritaville.
That's awesome. Now, are you guys going to start, now that you've kind of jumped, both feet in the deep end with this product, and just it really does fit with pickleball people. Like, pickleball people just like to have fun. There's not a whole lot of dirt bags out there. I mean, there are some, but it's not like some of these upper echelon tennis or volleyball where you got these guys that think they're prima donnas. Like, it just seems like it's kind of a blue collar sport. It's like anybody can play, anybody can get and have fun. Now, are you guys going to start putting pickleball courts on your properties? Is that kind of like in the workings, or?
Yes, absolutely. It is one of our standards. So for a lot of our newer developments that are planned for the next few years, pickleball courts are part of it. In fact, I was just in the Dominican Republic a couple of weeks ago, and we've got an all-inclusive resort there in Cap Cana, and we'll have 6 pickleball courts in Cap Cana. So when we open in November, we'll have pickleball there, and expect to see you guys there as well. Playing pickleball. But yes, the future with pickleball and the association with Margaritaville and the brand and our destination site makes a lot of sense. And it's such a social thing. It's easy, and for people that are new to it, people enjoy learning about the sport. So it makes a lot of sense to have them at our resorts and destinations.
Well, yeah, and if you got your own themed paddles too, like you got a rental booth where you can go get, here's 4 Margaritaville paddles on a Margaritaville court at a Margaritaville, facility that you're staying at. Like, it just makes sense, and it's just really, really cool. So 5 years ago or so, you guys got involved in this, but you personally, you didn't just start playing. So you started playing what, a little over a year ago?
How come you avoided for so long time?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Playing pickleball. Just like.
Well, Mark, it wasn't like I was standing on the sidelines playing ping pong and then said, "Oh, that's for old people." It wasn't a story like that, Mark. I've heard your story. So I was not familiar with it at all, quite frankly. And to be fair, I would say a couple of years ago, there is a connotation with pickleball, and probably still a little bit of a stigma out there. It's for older people, right? You're 60, 70 plus. When you no longer can play active sports, and you kind of naturally migrate into pickleball.
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
I see it. So I'm trying to get a head start. But the reality of it is, and we all share this now, is once you play it, you realize how false that is, how addictive of a sport it is. So I was introduced, one of our employees who's very active out at the Latitude community invited a few of us out to try the sport and play pickleball. So go out there. Never and don't have a racket background, so wasn't a grandmaster in ping pong. Didn't play collegiate tennis like the Joey here. Not all state volleyball like the Keith. Played all those other sports that you kind of grow out of when you get a little bit older. So didn't have the tennis or the racket sport background. So I went out, held the paddle in my hand, had the 2 fingers behind the back of the paddle, held it all wrong, and played against some older people across the net from me, and of course popped it up every time and got it slammed back at me, and try to keep it down and try to hit it correctly, try to keep it in the box, and do all those things, try to understand the rules. But what you realize the first time you go out there, and I think we can all testify to this, if you give pickleball an opportunity after the first hour, the first session, it's very addictive. It's very fun. It can be very frustrating, but it's one of those things. It's just a great sport. So I was hooked. But, like most of us, I'm also very competitive. So once I'm hooked, I want to play well. So right away, okay, if I'm going to do this and do this again, I've got to go out there and I'm going to play, learn how to play the sport. I'm going to get a couple of lessons. I'm going to commit to it. So yes, it was about right as the pandemic hit. I basically had my first introduction to pickleball. Then we had a little bit of that pause because everything shut down. And then as soon as everything started to reopen, I was out there at the courts and doing some lessons, and now play very actively, as much as I can, especially right now, as we were not traveling as much. So it gave me a good opportunity to spend some time on the courts and get to learn to play the sport, and learn to play pickleball that much more.
Brad, what would you rate your game as?
Any given day, right, Joey?
No, honestly, like, you're a good player. Like, we all know you're a good player,
Yeah, I'm not Saturday morning 6:30 a.m. Elite good player. Am I in that 3-5-4 range? Sure. It's funny though.
The Nikki Thomases of the world. Are you better than Nikki?
Well,
It's hard to be.
Don't
better
answer
than
that.
Nikki.
Don't answer that,
Nikki
Brad.
is, yeah.
That's trouble.
yeah. I have, the irony of Keith's earlier statement is like, it's so social and everybody wants to play together. It's so active. There is a group out there that's a little bit more elitist that I see. That's very closed group. That really doesn't really let others in to play there. Aside from that group, you're spot on, Keith. There's everybody else out there embraces all different levels to come and play. But occasionally you run into these elite groups out there. But that's okay. We all want things to aspire to. So if there's one aspirational goal I have with pickleball, that's it, to one day to make it across to that other side. But all kidding aside, I would say, I'm probably at 3-5. I'm going to try a 4-0.
I would say you're a solid 4-0, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. And some days are better than others, and what I would also say is thank you, all kidding aside, to the three of you. Keith, I've had an opportunity to play with you many times, and you're here's what I would say. You like to offer advice, so thank you, while we're on the court. So thank you for that. Joey, I've done a couple of lessons for with you. I'm often told, listen to Joey for what's good and watch Joey for what's bad. So I appreciate everything that you've been able to offer me in my game.
Whoever told you that knows what they're saying.
and Mark, you may not know this, but I think I played 2 games with you in my pickleball career. And here's what I've learned from playing with you, Mark. Every time I go to hit a ball that's coming at me, that was going out. That was going out. He says that all the time.
A lot of them, yeah.
And I'm like,
all the time.
Mark, they dink it in the kitchen. Well, just let it go out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true.
Well,
but it is. I mean, it is. And to that point, I watch this sport and I watch, you guys play and I watch what I try to do out there is still enjoy the sport. I am very competitive. It's by nature. You guys can, understand that because you guys all share that competitive nature as well. And I hope to be in the next, I will continue to play pickleball and hope to, get better over the course of the next, months and years. So look forward to it.
Oh,
That's
actually,
awesome.
now you have to switch to Margaritaville paddle.
Probably.
He's like, no. No,
Because now we know. Yeah,
it's so true, Brad. Too. When I first started playing, I didn't even know how to dink. I didn't know how to hit third shot, and so the first 2 years I played, I never actually learned how to play the game. And so like the whole morning group that, for those that don't, know us, like we have an early morning practice group that for years we've been meeting together and at 6:30 in the morning, and we go and practice and then do practice games. And it's not super competitive, but it's pretty competitive. Like everybody wants to win, and when they're not winning, they're not happy about it. But most of the time, like we're all still get along. We're good friends. But when we step on the opposite sides of the court, we want to beat each other. And I kind of want to beat my friends worse than people I don't know, because it's just, I don't know, the bragging rights, whatever it is about it. Like it's fun to play against your friends and be like, well, I got you that time. And it's just the whole camaraderie there and just the group of people. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, because what I've realized more and more is that you guys are special to me because of how I've progressed in the sport. Has been because I've had people to work with. I've had people to practice with. I've had people to go and do drills with and then play practice games and not just do meaningless, just banging the ball around. Right. And so it takes a lot of work, just like you're saying.
Brad, you'll be invited someday.
Hey, I want to earn it. So when that invite comes,
he won't take sympathy.
I will know.
He won't take sympathy. He would actually probably flip us off if we gave him an invite after this. We just invited him. He'd be like, no, guys, no. You're not inviting me until I earn it.
Let me bring up one quick situation because this was really funny. So me and Brad were having a rec game, and Basically, he had really bad plantar fasciitis on the right foot.
Correct.
Yeah. So basically, after you said that, I went to serve and I pegged him as hard as I could, right in the belly, because he was directly in front of me. Were you upset?
No, I look at those things. It's a reflection of character. So, I'm not judging anyone and what they do. Why it hurts me, Joey? Because it's a reflection of character. I'll leave it at that.
You're a very good
That was a lot
reader.
of fun.
No, it's competitiveness, right? I think there's a level of a lot of people, they don't want to do things and do them half-ass, right? To be blunt, is that if I'm going to do something, I want to do it with all my energy and do it as best I can without hurting people along the way, right? Sometimes people's feelings get hurt, sometimes relationships get hurt, but I always do my best to try and mend those fences. Hey, that wasn't my intent and all this, but like the competitive nature, we call it body bagging, right? When we hit somebody, it's a body bag, right? And body bag, and it's this big deal. But Joey's one of those people that if he knows you're hurt, he might pick on it a little bit. Hey, he can't move to his right, hit it to the right side.
Hey, I'm still upset that you caught a football on me.
Well, again, I'm trying to play by the rules, Joey. And I often say, if the guy hitting the ball doesn't know where it's going, how am I supposed to know where it's going?
And cheating is cheating, Joey. Let's just look, there's rules for a reason.
Whatever.
Brett, you're not better than 55 yet, right?
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah. That's probably the common thing between Margaritaville and pickleball is that that's probably two reasons people want to age faster. So many people tell,
true.
Oh,
finally I get to 50.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
correct. And then you get to play in those divisions and win all golds, right?
Right. At least they think so, yeah.
So Mark does. Mark plays with all of us that are 10, 15 years younger than him. He beats up on us, and then he goes and destroys people his own age because he's got such fast hands. That's why we call him the assassin.
What's interesting, and not that this is part of my story, but I've watched the origin stories, but I didn't hear who the better players were. If there's been rankings among the pickleball pirates, I haven't heard that. Who the best ones are and how they rank. I'm just curious if that's
for a ranking. Like, are you putting us on the spot to ask for a ranking right now? That'd be subjective, objective. I don't know how you put that.
Look who be the best players.
Okay, so right now, if I had my hat on and I would say top 5 of our group, I would put the people that have actually put the most effort in. That would be the Mark, the Dave, the people that have spent a lot of money on lessons. They've progressed and they got a better all-around game. But I look at certain things like Mark's backhand, the assassin's backhand. I don't hit to his backhand. Like I won't hit to his backhand as much as I can avoid it.
If you're looking at tournaments, you got to give it to Mark.
Well, Mark has the most golds. Like Mark has the most golds. He has won the most events. I think second to him would be Mark Johnson or Mark N. This Mark or Mark Johnson?
Mark
Johnson. Total, maybe he has more goals than I. But if you take just last year, then probably.
Yeah, now Mark's been on
I just participated in many tournaments this year, so.
Yeah. So I think what happens is that you kind of start realizing people's tendencies. Like, I don't speed it up against any of these guys, right? Like, because they've got fast hands, they practice it all the time. So I know their tendencies, so I don't go to their strengths, right? And I'm a dink guy. So like, I like getting into the dink battles and making people work at the kitchen. I don't think I've ever seen Mark get in a 10-shot dink battle because
absolutely. Because you lifted too early. I would love to do 10 shots.
You can't hit 10
but
dinks in a row.
I mean,
you can't even hit 10.
No, I can. I have proof of that. Actually, I participated in World Championship more than a year ago. That was the first time in Punta Gorda, and I played against Paul Olin and what's the name of the guy? Barry Waddell,
Uh-huh.
and they decided to pick on me. I was playing with Jeff. That's a
Jeff
big guy,
Josnick?
and they
Yeah.
decided to pick on me, which was completely surprising.
Jeff's a
I
good
usually
player.
never get picked on, and they picked on me, and that was like long dink rallies because they dink so well you cannot attack it. Just you cannot. So I had to. And when I don't have to, I go straight away attacking. I mean, why not?
So,
Well, it's
so I
true.
think,
Like
go ahead.
with the new paddles, I just played in a tournament this morning. It was like a scramble, and I was on the top court. The whole freaking all 6 games I won. The 7th game, the final. Basically, if you don't attack a dead dink, you're gonna lose the game. Period. With the new rackets or paddles, you're gonna lose.
So circling back to the question that I did not answer for you, Brad. You asked the question, I didn't answer it. I think that you would have to have a measuring scale. Like there would be an overall measurement of, okay, complete game. But then if you differentiate it by, okay, who's the best dinker, who's the best striker, who's the best, who's got the best slam game, who's got the best drop game. Like I think that what would happen is that as you would go through that, certain people are stronger at some shots than others. And some people, like, I can't hit a backhand roll shot. I still try to learn it. I'm hitting the fence every time I do it. I can't do it like these guys. They do it amazingly. However, they break their wrists to do it. I can't do it.
I could show you 1, 2, 3.
All right.
I
All
do
right.
it in the
We're going to
car.
do a lesson, Joey. And that's the one shot I would take lessons from you on. I would take lessons from you on that shot. Maybe
Wait,
nothing
so
else, but
let me reverse the question on you, Brad. If you were in a tournament, like had a chance to win, say, $5,000, who would you choose as a partner out of me, Keith, and Mark?
wow.
Good question. Good
You're
question.
the COO, you're
Yeah,
made to make
yeah,
decisions.
Well,
That's a big one.
I guess if I'm playing for the where I'm at the disadvantage because I don't play with most of you, right? So if I'm
Would you
playing
not
with
take the
Mark,
person that tried to slam you when you knew you were injured?
right. Joey, here's what you would win automatically. You are certainly the most entertaining. There can be, and I have been witness to some games that you're more entertaining as a partner than others, but you are certainly the most entertaining. So that alone may get you the first draft pick. Keith, who I've played with, so I've had the benefit of playing several games with by default, would probably be the partner because I played more with him and know his style and know how
He's
to
a
play
good
with
partner.
him. So strategically, he's a good number 2, Joey. We know it, right?
You have
If
slow
you're gonna have a
reactions,
second-
Brad. You couldn't play with me. We all know that.
I'm a good Robin.
No,
I can play Robin to Batman.
Joey, you want the alpha player, and then you want the guy, the guy that a role player.
You're
right?
the Omega. I'm the Alpha. You're the Omega.
See, that's how you have to look at these things. So, to be fair, and the David Nell, who I guess is probably filing his application for the South African Olympics and couldn't make the call, by witness, and certainly by self, admission is the number 1 player. Just ask him. He may have to rank up there as well. But yes, it would probably be Keith, just because I play with them more. Joey, entertaining, but Mark, any opportunity. I'd love, and I'm not far from the 50, so maybe there's a future if I can get to where you are in the next 4 years. Maybe there's something for us ahead of us.
So
Because you win the golds, Mark. You win the golds.
I like that answer, Brad. That was very honest.
Very
Actually,
diplomatic.
Yeah.
Very
No, but
diplomatic.
he gave a straight answer. He wanted to play with you.
Well, only from a familiarity, right?
No,
Hey,
but
he's comfortable with my game, and like he said, I give him little like pointers, like I know the stuff he's working on, right? So I know some of the stuff he's been working on with his lessons, stuff like that, and I'll just remind him of it while we're playing. Hey, you were still moving when you hit that shot, things like that, and it just kind of keys into him. Oh yeah, forgot about that. So because I think that's part of the thing is the muscle memory of it. When you're going through lessons, it's not muscle memory yet because you're trying to get it from here into your memory bank, and it's not so easy, right? It takes repetition and repetition.
No, definitely.
And
I
to be
mean,
fair-
I know
to
a
be
lot of
fair-
people they completely messed up right after the lesson because they tried to
Yeah.
process it.
And to be fair, Joey, Keith has never pegged me with a serve. So if you were looking for
When you were injured,
partner,
it's not my fault.
if you were
If
looking,
you were my partner, I would never tell you to admit an injury.
okay, that's fine. A cush, you know, that shot from a cush, it looks better and better as I rewind it every time.
I'll never play with English again. Ever. Worst. Honestly, I'd much rather play with you, Brad.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, can you disclose who you already took lessons from? Brad.
Well, Brad takes a lot of lessons from Tony, right?
Yeah, that's what I saw. Who else?
Me?
So my initial lessons were from Doug, who is, you know, is a staple at Winter Garden. And,
Oh, Doug's
just
great.
one of the
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
yeah, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he is the example of complete control, right? I don't know exactly how old Doug is, but I think he's 70 plus years old, but he can go out there and hold his own with anyone on that court and plays the game with such elegance and grace and hitting the right shots and controlling the game as much as he can. It's incredible. So when I was first starting, you know, and being introduced and the most patient guy and the most gracious guy on the court. So he was the one who, you know, my first handful of lessons were with Doug and was amazing and kind of learned a lot of things from him at the very early stages. And then as I wanted to progress, I got to know Tony Giano over at Clear One and through some other relationships. And, you know, and fortunately, given our connection with the sport of pickleball, I've also got to, you know, play against some of the pros and with the pros, the Ben Johns of the world, the Kyle Yates, Simone, you know, and Tyson McGuffin, Deckel Barr, and, you know, not to name drop, but, you know, been very blessed in that way to be on the courts with some of those people and watch them play. So, you know, early on, as I watched and played with some of them, I realized that, you know, I wanted to take it to the next level. So I spent a lot of time with Tony, even with Joey, you know, again, I go back to Joey's, he's got a very unique style of play. And Joey, I take you as a partner and be very fortunate to have you a partner any day of the week. When you're on, Joey, nobody can beat you. You know, you are.
He's the only one that can beat him when he's on.
I'm going to use that for the promo for the video. Thanks. That's all I needed.
Got it.
And we got a good promo. Done.
Joey's his own worst enemy, right? Like Joey beats himself more than anybody else because most people don't do it. They just wait for him to do it.
Can't argue.
But everybody and you know and you know, there's been others that I've done lessons with, but for the most part, those have been the core group of.
Who's the best coach out of everyone? Tony?
You know, not to be, you know, there is. Tony is at a different level just because that's what he's done for a living, right? I mean, he's coached at a collegiate level and play, you know, so he naturally, although Doug has as well, but I would say this is what, you know, Tony's primary focus is, you know, as well as what his other day job is. He coaches, you know, both the mental game and the physical sport. So sure, he has that ability to coach.
Now, I know your game really well, like really well. What would be your top weakness?
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
I
Here's the
wouldn't.
thing. I'm not.
Brad. I wouldn't answer.
Don't answer.
I wouldn't answer. If you're going to play tournaments, any tournaments, just don't answer.
No.
or you can fake it too. Yeah.
You know, ranks up there, but still, you know, it's patience. You know, it's a game of patience.
I disagree.
I would say
I disagree, and I'm just gonna add 2 cents. I'm done talking for the night, but it's wrist action. On your forehand, you don't have the wrist action. It's all wrist action. You get that from hand grips or Amazon. All I'm doing when I'm driving, boom, 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 boom. Your take back on your drive is here. That's the last thing you want. It's no take back, quick, right to left, left to right. You have to really move the ball better.
There you go. You can just send a check to Joey's house for that lesson.
Keith, I feel like I'm in trouble. I feel like I was. I'm sorry, Joey. But here's what I would say when it comes to answering that question. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? that's why I, do those things. And I know, Joey, you at times you've mentioned those things to me, and it's going out there and creating the discipline to
Well, it's a muscle. It's
continue
not discipline. It's muscle memory. Muscle memory.
And Joey has really good wrist action.
Well, it's not. I did it through just. All I do driving, hand grips. Boom, boom,
That was so
boom,
uncalled for.
boom,
We're gonna have to edit
boom.
that part out.
I don't disagree. We digress quickly. All right. Well, a pleasure, guys.
Dude. So Brad, thank you so much for joining, man. I like you so much more now. Not that I didn't like you before, but you were so non-assuming. Like when I put your phone number in my phone, I put Brad Margaritaville, and I had no clue what that was. But now that you've told me, you kind of personify what your brand is. You're kind of relational first, right? I've seen you just play with all different levels of people. You treat them all the same. You give everybody junk that deserves it. You take the junk back when they give it to you. You're just a really good dude. And I just find that very rare. And there's a lot of corporate snobs out there. There's a lot of guys that make it to where you've made it corporately, and they think I've arrived. Now everybody else has to bow to me. But you're one of the most humble, servant-minded guys. And I just appreciate that, man. I appreciate you giving us the time and coming on here. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to be staying at Margaritaville next time they can, because they're going to be like, look, I want the experience I heard about on the Pirate Talks. And it's all because of you, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. We're lucky.
I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, if you can't have fun on the courts, why play, right?
Really is.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
Really is.
Yeah. I'm signing off to go work on my wrist action. So thank you, guys.
All right, guys, and YouTube, thank you so much for watching Margaritaville. You got to stay there. You got to go there. You got to experience it. You got to find your lost shaker of salt. Thank you so much for watching the Pirate Talks. We'll see you next time on the channel. Have a nice one.
Thank you.